Welcome to Boxing During Dinner, here from Casa Alvarez, here in Miami, Florida.
That means the Alvarez house in Spanish.
Yes, Casa Alvarez. Yeah, I guess I do have to translate for a lot of our fans. But we've been away for a few weeks, David. A little summer vacation, if you want to call it that, which means
Alex's summer vacation.
Alex and I had to work a lot, and Alex had a little vacation along the way. But we have a special guest tonight, Harold Lederman, who we'll bring in a couple minutes. But really quickly, David, this past weekend, the shocker, Abner Mares gets knocked out by Johnny Gonzalez. I didn't see that coming. I thought of the two fights, of the Terrazas, Leo Santa Cruz fight, and Abner Mares, Johnny Gonzalez, I expected Mares to win this fight easy. Johnny Gonzalez has been around for a long time. He's 31 years old, but 31 going on 40.
Right.
He's been around that long. Just got knocked out by Ponce de Leon, who Abner Mares ironically beat for the title in May. And I think Mares is the better fighter of the two. He just got caught with a good shot.
Yeah, it just goes to show. And Abner Mares, more than anybody, was an extremely gracious, individual, even in defeat. And he himself said it, he didn't come into this game to leave undefeated, and this is the type of stuff that happens in boxing, and it happened to him in the worst way. I mean, that you're not going to see a better left hook than the one that was thrown by Johnny Gonzalez that landed on Abner Mares.
Picture perfect.
Picture perfect. It was set up. It was not an expected punch the way it was set up. Abner Mares just got caught and was never able to fully recover. And, as shocking as any fight that we've seen this year, and we've seen a lot of really good fights, but I think as far as upsets go, we talked about this briefly, this may be the biggest upset of the year so far.
Yeah, I think so, especially on a big level, on a big stage like the Mares Johnny Gonzalez fight was. But like you said, very gracious in defeat. Has some history with Johnny Gonzalez. They both trained with Nacho Beristain at one point, sparred each other many, many times. And you could see Gonzalez was concerned after the knockout, but he'll be back. Abner Mares will be back, and probably better than ever. He just needs to take a break. I mean, it's a lot of fights in a short period, and competitive fights too.
Think about the names. I mean, outside of Carl Frosch, I think Mares and Frosch are the two guys who fought the stiffest competition in recent years. That guy has not had a single easy cupcake type of fight. He's fought Ponce de Leon. He's fought Agbeko. He fought Yanni Perez. He fought Vic Darchinyan. I mean, he's literally fought anybody in and around that weight class who's not a top-ranked fighter.
Leo Santa Cruz also on the card, David, and he just walked through Victor Terrazas. He looked amazing. This kid, before the fight, there was some talk about him fighting Guillermo Rigondeaux, which I think Rigondeaux, since he's a really good fighter, really good boxer, might outpoint Leo Santa Cruz. At least that's the opinion here. But the kid showed that he's improving with each fight. I mean, leaps and bounds since we saw him last year fighting, what was it, like 5 or 6 times?
Right, yeah. I think he did fight 4 or 5 times last year, and at that pace at the world title level is also incredible. Again, you're probably never going to see him step in with Rigondeaux unless Rigondeaux can get out of his contract, which would probably be the best thing for his career, and we can only hope that does happen. But, Leo Santa Cruz, who I've always called like the mini Margarito, continues to evolve even past what Margarito was. Still doesn't use a jab, which I think would be a nice, tool in his arsenal. But the guy's a hell of a combination puncher. He attacks the body relentlessly, and he wears his opponents down, and that's exactly what happened with Victor Terrazas. In a matter of 3 rounds, he broke this guy's will at a world champion level. Santa Cruz is a special fighter and a fun one to watch.
Yeah, and an amazing victory for Santa Cruz, and, we'll see him down the line in a lot of competitive fights. Maybe Abner Mares, Johnny Gonzalez, who knows. But we have a special guest on the line, our good friend, because he is a good friend. I love this guy, and a lot of fans keep asking me since, they know we speak to him we speak to him frequently.
Right.
They were asking me, where's Harold on HBO, but Harold Lederman, his voice is missed on the HBO Boxing After Dark's telecast, but he will be back for the Chavez Brian Vera fight. So we want to welcome Harold Lederman to Boxing During Dinner. How's it going, Harold?
Can't wait to...
Hi, Armando. It's good to be back with you guys.
So, Harold, you will be back for the Julio Cesar Chavez Brian Vera fight, correct?
Yeah, that's HBO World Championship Boxing. And they've got me working HBO World Championship Boxing and HBO pay-per-view. So I've got 4 shows in 4 weeks. We got, Julio Cesar Chavez on the 28th, Miguel Cotto on October 5, October 12th, of course, we got Timothy Bradley, Manuel Marquez, which should be a barn burner. And then on the 19th, we go to Denver with Ruslan Provatnikov and Mike Alvarado. So, it should be a pretty interesting run with some good fights, hopefully. We got to overcome Showtime show with this past Saturday night, the one you guys were talking about, because that was a great show with Abner Maris, no doubt about it. Just goes to show, whenever you fight a puncher, man, you got to be careful.
That's the understatement of the week.
And that was the one thing that Morris couldn't do in that fight, was to brawl with Johnny Gonzalez, because he's such a big puncher. But we want to get into the big fights coming up, Harold. One fight that's not on HBO, but it's the talk of the town: Canelo Alvarez and Floyd Mayweather. Floyd Mayweather, obviously, his career was born on HBO. And so was Canelo Alvarez. Well, first on Telemundo, and Tutico Zavala and Telemundo had him on a few times, but he did fight on HBO a few times. Harold, what do you think of this fight? Do you think that Canelo Alvarez actually has a shot against Floyd Mayweather?
Oh yeah, Canelo Alvarez is a star. Holy mackerel! That kid, for what is he, 22 years old? He's an extremely talented guy. He can box, he can punch, he's got enormous skills. He's got good movement. If anything, he's a little slower than Floyd Mayweather, and speed kills in boxing, and that could hurt him. But certainly, I think he's going to be the bigger guy. Floyd seems to have trouble with 54-pounders. Floyd's really not a 54-pounder. You look at Floyd, and he had trouble with Miguel Cotto at 154. And, you can't see Floyd in the same ring with Erislandy Lara or, Vanish Martirosyan or some of them big 54-pounders, because Floyd's not that big. Angulo would tower over Floyd Mayweather. Kirkland would tower over Floyd Mayweather. Any 154-pound fighter is going to be bigger than Floyd. So the size certainly is in Canelo's favor. The fact that he's got a good punch and good skills is in his favor. But the question is, can he deal with Mayweather's speed? And that's the $64 question. If Floyd is on his game, and Floyd is as quick as he usually is, Floyd should be able to keep the fight outside and outbox Canelo Alvarez. I think personally that Floyd's going to outbox him, but I think it's going to be a great fight. I think it's going to go 12 rounds. I really envision there's going to be a lot of action rounds in that fight, and I'm certainly looking forward to it.
I've got to say, a couple of things. I pretty much agree unilaterally with what you said, and you mentioned the whole Mayweather speed kills thing. I think even more than that is the accuracy of Mayweather that's going to be troublesome for Canelo, and seems to be troublesome for everybody else, is that he hits people so cleanly that it takes them completely off balance and they have to reset and start from scratch. And one of the other concerns that I'm hearing from Canelo's camp, maybe not a concern, but as an outsider you have to wonder, people have always been concerned about his conditioning, and just last week he weighed 166 plus pounds at the 30-day weigh-in for the fight. And for a guy who's got to remove another 14.5 pounds from his frame in just under a month, it's got to be a little disconcerting if conditioning's already an issue and you're fighting a guy who can probably fight 18 rounds if he wanted to. What are your thoughts on what the ultimate X factor is in this fight? Is it speed or is it something else?
Well, it's interesting. A fight that huge, a Floyd Mayweather fight, a chance to beat the number one guy in boxing. The chance to become an absolute superstar at a young age. If Canelo can't get in shape, something's wrong somewhere. That's one thing that we really should expect. A guy coming into a fight of this magnitude, should definitely be able to make the weight. There's no Johan Guzman's in this fight. You got to come in there and be 152 pounds, and that's all there is to it, because that's what the contract is. They fight at 152 maximum. Floyd's a little guy. Floyd shouldn't have problems making 52, because the truth of the matter is he's a 40-pounder or 47-pounder at best. Now he's coming in at a higher weight, so he shouldn't have any problems. Canelo has to get down. If he weighed 166 at the 30-day weigh-in, something's wrong somewhere. I agree with you, But, hey, listen, he knows what he's doing. He's fighting for millions of dollars and a chance to place himself in immortality, so to speak. It's just a huge, huge fight. and it's no excuse for not being in shape. I mean, that's the one thing that we can expect from Canelo Alvarez. I mean, maybe maybe the guy is just not in Floyd's league, but at least he should come in shape. Because if he's not in shape, he's going to have a lot of problems beating Floyd Mayweather, that's for sure. Timothy Bradley is a winning fighter, and now he's coming in against a slightly over-the-hill one-on-one Marquez. You can't accuse Marquez of anything because, they know he's never been caught. So, yeah, he's been associated with the performance-enhancing drug scandals and research and all the other crap, but he's never been caught. He's never done anything illegal that anybody caught him doing. So, I know that, they're doing an awful lot of drug testing for this fight, so, I'm sure everybody's going to come in clean and they're going to fight on a level playing field, but at the Thomas and Mack in Las Vegas, and I'm sure it's going to be a huge fight. I'm sure it's going to sell out. We should get 19,000 people there live. It wouldn't surprise me if the crowd is off for Marquez. I think that's one advantage he's going to get. But Timothy Bradley is tough. He really is. He's a decent puncher, and as I say, does nothing but win against tough guys. So, we remember how badly he beat up Devin Alexander, and Devin's been awful successful since then. So, I really think it's going to be a real good fight. And, I think it's going to be a fun fight, and I'm really looking forward to it. What's it, October the 12th?
Yeah, it should be a fun fight. I'm a big fan of Marquez too, and like you said about the steroid issue, he's never been caught. He's a good fighter. He just came in a tremendous shape for that fight against Manny Pacquiao.
If you've gotten 3 bad decisions in your own estimation,
exactly,
you're
gonna come in great shape.
Yeah. So Harold, the question we of course want to ask on the HBO pay-per-view side, the other big pay-per-view of the year, you could call it, is the Manny Pacquiao return against Brandon Rios. I've heard opinions of this.
David and Armando, anything Brandon Rios is in is a great fight. I mean, you guys were with me at the Versailles restaurant when he was in a great fight with Richard Abril at a press conference. I mean, Brandon Rios is just a natural fighter. He don't want to know from nothing. He comes to fight. He sure is the devil. He's going to come to fight with Manny Pacquiao. If Manny Pacquiao thinks he's going to walk through Brandon Rios, he's out of his mind. I mean, Brandon Rios is going to be right in his face the entire 12 rounds if it goes that far. I mean, he's one of these guys that just comes straight at you, and he doesn't know any other way to fight. Mike Alvarado was real smart the second time that Rios and Alvarado fought. He outboxed him, and whether Manny can actually box or not, I don't know. He's a southpaw, likes to slug, likes to get in your face, likes to push you back. But here, you've got a Brandon Rios that ain't going to be pushed back. That's going to be backing up Pacquiao for 12 rounds. And southpaws don't like to get backed up, that's for sure. And Brandon Rios is going to back up Manny Pacquiao. I mean, I think Brandon has got a better chance, even fighting in Asia, than people give him credit for. I think, most people are saying, well, Pacquiao's going to walk through and Pacquiao's got to come back after the Bradley loss and a one-on-one Marquez knockout. He's got to, rebuild his reputation, blah, 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 and he's fighting in Asia and all that kind of stuff. But I gotta tell you, I think Brandon Rios is really in this fight. I think it's going to be very, very interesting.
Harold, and last question, but you've been around boxing a long time, and you've seen some of the good fighters, get knocked out at times. Manny Pacquiao is not only coming off a knockout loss, he's coming out off of a devastating knockout loss. I mean, he was knocked out unconscious by Juan Manuel Marquez. Being that Brandon Rios does have a good chin, he's a good puncher, and like you said, he is an aggressive fighter. Do you think the Pacquiao camp is making a huge mistake fighting Brandon Rios?
It's hard to say. I mean, Manny, he supports so many people. You see, he's got that entourage, 13 people sleeping in his room, all that kind of stuff. He's going to make a lot of money, to support the lifestyle that he lives, as I see it. His political career and every other darn thing. And, so he's taking on a guy who really should give him good pay-per-view numbers. I mean, a lot of people want to see the fight. Nobody's going to go to Macau to see it except the people that live there. So, everybody, he's got to get good pay-per-view numbers. So I think that he has to fight a creditable opponent after 2 losses to keep making those real big $1 million paydays. I don't know what he's going to wind up with after all is said and done. I mean, that's between Manny and Bob Arum. But, Manny does need, a good-sized payday to exist. And here he's going to get it with Brandon Rios. I mean, for sure. because Brandon Rios should bring him good pay-per-view numbers, should give him a good fight. People, really want to see this fight. I can't say that we're going to have as big a pay-per-view audience as Floyd and Canelo will, but even still, it should be just as good a fight, and I'm really looking forward to it. But that's a wild statement, isn't it? Brandon Rios and Pacquiao is going to be as good a fight as Mayweather and Canelo. How's that?
Yeah, I think that should be a Fight of the Year candidate, but that's the great Harold Lederman. Harold, thanks again for being on Boxing During Dinner.
Yeah, Armando, it's always a pleasure. I love to be on with you guys.
And next time, you got to come to South Florida so we could take you to Randazzo's.
Hey, we'll be in North Florida for, October the 5th. Miguel Cotto comes to Orlando. Should be interesting. Miguel Cotto against Mickey Mouse.
I like Mickey Mouse in that one. All right, Harold, thanks for being on Boxing During Dinner, and we'll have more next week.